Well, thank you very much, Marianne, for joining the podcast. We're very excited to have you. And just quickly, in 30 to 60 seconds, how would you describe it is what you do?
So I'm a chiefly bridal makeup artist. So
Okay.
I help brides and sometimes bridesmaids and mother of the brides get ready for wedding days by doing their makeup. So I get let into quite a special and personal day and get to make them feel incredible and look amazing. So that's a big part of my business. I also do education. So I teach people how to do their own makeup. That sometimes has a personal shopping component to it. So I take them to a Sephora or whatever's close to them and pick out the perfect products for them because it can be quite an overwhelming space. And then the other part of what I do is artist coaching. So coaching other makeup artists in makeup application, how to upskill, how to grow their businesses. This is a smaller part of what I do, but it's actually a big part of what I used to do when I worked for a brand. So I feel like it's kind of seamlessly being integrated. And then like something I don't think I've said aloud very often is like, I would say I'm a content creator because I'm having to create a lot of content around what I do because Instagram is the perfect platform for makeup artistry and to share what I do and to grow my business. It seems to be working. And then I can't forget that I'm a mom. Like I have 2 kids. So I'm just like run ragged on the side with my family and looking after them too.
Amazing. So lots going on. So that is helpful. We do like to start things off with some rapid fire to get people talking. Some easy questions. So the first question is, what's your favorite movie or movie you've watched the most?
So I'm quite quick at answering this one because my husband and I thought it's like a shared one. Okay. And it would be the Tron movie. So not the one that just came out, Tron Ares.
Okay.
Was not the one, sadly. We were very sad about that. The one before.
Yes.
So not the one from the 80s, the one before with Jeff Bridges.
Yes, where his face is all digitally altered.
Yes.
Yes.
But we freaking love that movie. We're really into sci-fi. And I was too before I even met him because I grew up with brothers and I was watching Alien at like way too young an age and all that. So that I would say is our most watched movie and probably like we watch it at least once a year. Yes. We can't get it out.
Yes. It's a very underrated movie, I would say. I think it got a lot of heat from critics and stuff, but it's a good movie.
The soundtrack, Daft Punk, like, are you kidding me? Like that alone? Like I could go on and on. And then for me as well, there's actually almost a component where Mac did the makeup. So when I was a trainer, we actually had a couple of slides in one of our update trainings of the movie. And I was just like, oh man, this just makes me love it even more. Like Mac, I think, and the makeup artist, some of the pro makeup artists did makeup for some of the girls on the set. So
that's a good answer. I think that's not a common answer, but it's a great movie. So I love it. Okay, so do you have a favorite podcast that you like to listen to?
Ooh, yes. I am obsessed with the Trevor Noah podcast.
Okay.
So he's South African, so like obviously we both grew up in Joburg, so he's my boy.
Okay.
But he is so intelligent. He's so good at facilitating conversation. He asks the most fascinating questions. He's really good at synthesizing what people say and sort of, boiling it down into layman's terms. But you can also tell he's so smart. And I think he has incredible, very wide ranging. Like he's had the most recent one I listened to was all about parenting with Dr. Becky. But then before that, he had a guy who was like blowing up the dialysis racket that exists in the UK, in the US, which I had no idea existed. So I'm obsessed with him. He's great.
So very smart podcast. I don't know if you'll have the same takeaway after this one, but we will try. Do you have a favorite book?
I'm a big reader, and that's actually something that's come back fairly recently. I think I've got into quite a solid read before going to sleep routine, and I'm loving it. Like, I think this is actually going to stick. So that's exciting. I would say the genre I like the most is historical fiction, and the book that got me into that genre from a fairly early age, I would say, would be Memoirs of a Geisha. I don't know if you've ever read that.
I've heard of it because I think it was a movie, right?
It was a movie, and I love it when that happens, when you got like a damn good book and then a damn good movie. Like, ooh.
Yes.
So Memoirs of a Geisha, I would say, is like my favorite fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, historical fiction book. Love it.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. If you got a $20,000 grant, what would you do with it?
$20,000 grant. I mean, I'd definitely invest in my business.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I should add like for your business. Yeah. Not
okay,
like
great. We're aligned. I'm like, I'm gonna go buy a handbag. No.
Yeah. That wouldn't be a bad investment though, perhaps, but for the business.
Yeah. I would say I would invest in this stream that I would like to grow of my business, which is artist coaching. So I'd invest in amazing videographers, producers to help me create content that I could sell online. So a subscription or, like a course or something. I'm not sure how that would live. So I'd want people to help me figure it out because I don't really know much about that side. I mean, obviously passive income is the dream, right? So like,
yes,
get me some of that. I think I would find that process amazing. And I think I would also then want support in like getting it on social and how to sell it. Because I think it's one thing making it. It's a completely different thing, like actually selling it effectively. So I'd want more, and just in general, more support with like social media would be amazing. Yeah, because that's the area that I've had to really force myself to embrace and learn new skills in starting this business of mine.
Great.
I'm going to jump in on your social media skills. So the video you did of my makeup.
Oh yeah,
the Alex Cooper like inspired bridal. I had friends who live in like the US and in England who they just came across that video. Like they didn't see that I was tagged in it. They didn't see anything. They were like, "This you?" And I was like, "Yes." So you're obviously doing something right, because they were just like, "Oh my God, I love it," and all that. So they were, you're doing something right with the content.
Well, and I hear that people actually say, like, I'll meet people and they're like, "Oh, I follow you on Instagram," and I'm like, like it's very exhilarating. So yeah, but I'm also I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I'm really figuring out as I go along,
So okay, so courses and social media. Okay, when it's time to lock in for work, how do you lock in?
So I'm a big believer in just having everything ready in advance, like everything ready the night before. So if I'm doing a bride and like it's a Saturday, most of my brides are like Saturdays in the summer. Like my brushes are washed and clean and ready by Thursday. The kit's prepped, done, packed Friday. I'm also like preparing myself like lunch and breakfast, so that I don't have to worry about any of that. So my day is seamless so that I can really be fully present with my bride and not be worrying about stuff like, oh God, I'm hungry. Or where's that brush set that I need? Like everything is prepped in advance. And that also goes hand in hand with, having a family. Like my morning is not mine. Like my kids dominate. So I need to just mentally have everything ready to go. Like the car's packed, the outfit's chosen, everything's ready to go so that I can it's seamless. And then if something does go wrong, like it's not hard to get back on track, right? It's not this like crazy snowball effect where, shit goes sideways. So I'm a big believer in preparing as much as I can in advance. And because I have a kit and physical things, like that's what I tend to focus on. So I find that very helpful.
And then how do you lock out of work? Like when you're done work, so you're not like, thinking about it, or is there anything you like to do?
Well, as soon as I get home, my children jump all over me. So like
I'm forced
to leave it behind. And actually it's one of the benefits I think of being a makeup artist is, or a job, I suppose, that you're doing with people with your hands, is like you can actually, a lot of the time, like when the job's done, it's done. Like I do have to think about the social media part, but that can kind of wait a little. I can actually just like put it to one side and sort of focus on something else. It's not like, on my mind too much. But I find what I have to do is find it in bits. So like making sure I get outside once a day. Like we don't have much sun at the moment, but like get the sun on my eyeballs. Like please help me with this seasonal depression. I go to the gym. I've started like weight training. I've actually also messed up my back. So like, I don't know how helpful that's been at the moment, but making sure I work out, that's been huge. That's also helping me with managing pain because lifting kits, having kids, you know, all that stuff. I've kind of been through the ringer. So I sort of want to manage that. That's important to me. And then things like reading before bed, you know, just finding those, it's little moments that I can find that add up. I think if I was trying to like fully lock out and have a Zen moment where I was in a Zen garden, like having all this time to myself, like I'm never going to find that. That's just not my reality. Yeah.
That's totally fair. Okay, so that's the rapid fire. So I mean, we learned a lot. So now we can get into, you know, your career and how you came to be starting your own business. So obviously you're in the makeup industry. And is that where you started your career? Did you go to school for it? What was kind of the process to actually land in the business?
Yeah, you know, it's a very meandering journey, and getting to the point now where I have my own business has not. I've done so many different things along the way. My start was actually, I was a dancer, and so makeup was something that we did to get ready for performances. So that's like the initial spark. But you know, I grew up in South Africa where it's like, you know, if I said to my mom and dad, like, I want to be a makeup artist, I think they'd be like, what? Like, no. You know, there's a lot of fear around pursuing something creative in a country that's not necessarily like safe, to put it bluntly, you know? So I think I was sort of steered to what my parents were fantastic. And I was the third child, so I think I got away with a lot. They kind of understood that I was going to be in a creative space, but they still pushed me to do a degree. So I have an English and art history degree. My mom worked at the university, so I got a scholarship. So I couldn't really say no. Yes. But once I'd done that, I kind of realized like it has to be makeup. I'm very grateful for those years where I could just figure stuff out, but still be, you know, learning about art history and English and all those things still feed into what I do, right? Like understanding references of Renaissance painting has actually helped me in my job now. So like no regrets. But I only did my makeup diploma after my degree. So here I am doing a makeup diploma with like a bunch of much younger people, essentially, because I'd already had this time at university. And I took it so seriously. And I don't think they were taking it as seriously. Because we had to do things like, we had to write a paper about the history of makeup. And I was like citing references. I was like writing an essay like I had at university. And even the instructor said to me like, oh no, honey, it doesn't have to be that insane. Like, calm down. So I love doing that diploma. I think what it taught me actually more than anything, because if I think about the quality of it, it wasn't amazing, but it actually taught me what I didn't want to do, which was go into film and special effects and more commercial work, because a lot of that just isn't pretty. It's long days, you know, you're touching up, you know, you're doing a bit of powder on someone if it's something commercial maybe, and if it's movies, you know, the special effects stuff is really messy, and I really didn't enjoy that side of it, but I'm glad I experienced that. So I did that diploma, but really I only fully started learning about the craft of makeup when I joined MAC. So that was my first makeup job in South Africa on like a beauty counter in our local department store.
Gotcha. And so the process, so did you go and do the diploma right after you finished your university degree?
Like literally like the next day, it felt like.
Okay. So, and you kind of mentioned that it was tough to be like, oh, I want to go in this creative field. So like, I guess, what was the process like during that time period where you've obviously just gotten this, you know, university degree, which should grant you the ability to go get a job, but you're saying, I want to go, you know, do this diploma. And you said like, looking back, it always had to be makeup. So you obviously had some intuition that this is what you wanted to do, but was that a challenging phase, I guess, that time between university and the diploma? And I guess, how did you navigate that? What do you remember from it?
You know, I was young. This is like early 20s, I think 19, 20. And I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of the time I was just partying and like living my best student life, because I'd come from a very rigorous dance field. So I went to performing arts school and I was dancing all the time. I was like dancing on the weekend, dancing in the afternoons. You know, it was very regimented, which again, grateful. It's helped me with my business today. But I didn't have a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
So I think I was, part of it's like, I'm looking at this differently now. It's such an interesting question, but I was like, I had all this freedom. I was like, going to clubs, and I was getting myself ready and doing my makeup. And there was there's a lot of power in that. I think a lot of makeup artists probably have the same thing. They're like, damn, I look good. Like, just look at this amazing thing that I can do. I can take myself from feeling like a 0 to like a 10. And it's so fun. And there's a lot of power in that. So I think it was like maturing, kind of becoming an adult, experience, having fun, for what I felt like was the first time in forever. And like this makeup, this craft, I was just like, I couldn't get enough. And then when I saw the MAC, because we had that one MAC counter, I think it was only the one, or maybe there were two in Johannesburg at the time. Like Johannesburg's not the most cutting edge at the time, like it's not the most cutting edge, but the MAC counter was like popping. We were like, everyone knew like there was something really special going on there. And I was desperate to be a part of it. I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And at the time as well, like you had to have a diploma to get a job like that. I think it's changed now, but back then, this was pre any kind of social media. This was like 2007. So they were like, you need to have like a cosmetology degree so that we know you're not going to like give someone an eye infection kind of thing.
Yes.
So I don't think I struggled with it. I actually think I just kind of like, during that time, it was just more and more affirmation coming at me that this is the right thing to do. And then I just had to kind of get out of my own way. I remember speaking to my one professor, actually, English professor. I absolutely adored him. He made lectures so fun, and we watched a lot of movies. Like I remember we read Dracula, and then we watched Bram Stoker's Dracula, the camp one with like Gary Oldman. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, it's so good. But I had such respect for him. And anyway, I went into his office and I was discussing a paper or something. And I told him, I was like, oh, I've made up my mind. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a makeup artist. And he was like, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, why are you going to waste your talent in makeup? And I was just like, oh man, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's not an industry that's necessarily super cerebral, right? Like we are talking about the way someone looks, we're talking about it's very face value. So I think I encountered people who sort of were like a bit dismissive, but it didn't deter me, like not at all.
So, and why do you think that is? Because I feel like a lot of people get talked out of it.
Yeah. I mean, is it the most stable to be a makeup artist? It's changed now. You've got so many options. You can become an influencer. You can like sell and, like I said, have that passive income. You can, you just need yourself essentially. Yeah. But when I was doing it, like I eventually moved to the UK and, I was with the brand. I was with MAC and I stayed with them for a long time. But the thought of becoming a makeup artist in the UK, working in London, so I'm talking like someone who does editorials, who's like a known working makeup artist without any brand support. So essentially you'd work for an agent, an agency. Like that is nearly impossible to achieve. It really is, because you start off doing work for free. So like you work for free for a really long time. Like I think you have to really hustle. And then it's almost like 1 in a million. You'll make it to that level where you've got consistent work, where you're booking, where you're, able to make a decent income. That takes a hell of a long time. And I mean, in the context of South Africa, like that is in a country that's grappling with so many issues and is so fraught, like no one's really paying attention to the makeup industry or supporting it in any meaningful way. So it just, it felt that much harder in that sense. But for myself personally, I always knew I'd go overseas. I was like, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to do as much as I can. And then like, I'm out of here,
Yes. And so how long did you stay with MAC for?
So I started, with that little counter job.
Yes.
Which was fantastic. And just, oh my God, blew my mind. I got to learn so much from the artists there, and I was just having fun at work, and learning retail customer service skills, because those, I mean, I use to this day. Like, that has been such a crucial foundation for me and how I approach what I do. When I moved to Dubai, I didn't work for MAC because they have crazy shopping hours there. The malls are open till like midnight. And I was just like, I don't know if I can handle that, like, I just didn't feel like the right spot. I actually tried to work with an agency in Dubai, and that was also pretty impossible, because I'd do a job and then get paid like 6 months later. It was like crazy, not sustainable. So eventually I moved to the UK.
How did you end up in Dubai? Sorry, this was transferred.
I know. Yeah, I just kind of dropped that in there, didn't I?
Yeah.
I essentially, when I finished my diploma, I fell in love. I met this guy who I'm married to today, so that like worked out. But he was moving to Dubai with his family. His dad got an amazing job, but there was also, and this is a common story with South Africans, like they're just getting out of Joburg. They just had enough. They experienced some awful things, and they were done. And so I met him, and we sort of dated while I was doing my diploma and stuff. And then I visited him a few times, and then I was like, I'm moving, and I did. And my mom was like, "You're moving to the Middle East? Like, what?" But yeah, I haven't really looked back since. So
okay, so it wasn't so much makeup thing. It was, a love thing. Yeah,
it was more a love thing, definitely. But then when we decided we were going to the UK, because actually both of us were lucky enough, we have British passports from our dads. They were born in the UK, so that was a very easy, next step. I went straight back to MAC, mostly because I was like, the training that you got with that brand is just next to none. So it was to get more training. I knew I wasn't good enough yet. Like, there's so much to learn when it comes to makeup artistry, to be proficient, to be very good. So I knew I wasn't done learning. Also, working for a brand, what I spoke about, that how hard it is, like aligning yourself with a brand not only gives you experience, training, but also a discount so you can build your kit, because it is not cheap building a makeup kit from scratch. So it felt like, I guess, in a way, a safe option. It was familiar because I'd worked with the brand before, but it just made a lot of sense. I was coming with quite a practical viewpoint, I guess. And so I stayed with the brand. I started off in the UK on the counter, and then moved up to assistant manager. And then out of I still can't believe to this day that I got the job of trainer. So I was actually the one educating artists. I was looking after a region of the UK. I was working with a sales partner. I was facilitating trainings and update trainings. I was traveling all the time. So I got that job, which was just like a complete dream come true. And I loved it. And so that I did up until 2017. So all in all, I think I was with the brand for about 6 or 7 years, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm gonna hop in too, because I think it's interesting. Like, I've done the thing where I've moved to different cities, and you're kind of restarting your career, but also just like restarting your whole life. So I think, how did you go about that? Like, moving from Dubai to the UK. I believe you made a stop in Ottawa before you're now in Victoria, kind of thing. So yeah, how did you approach that from like a career perspective of like not restarting, because you're obviously taking all of your experiences, but it is, different market, different, you do kind of have to make those connections. So yeah, how did you approach that when you're kind of going through those moves?
Yeah, so it's so hard. It is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've done it 4 times, is moving to a different country. The first year I moved, when I was in Dubai, listen, I was having a lot of fun. Like, I was still partying. It was so great. But what a culture shock. I was just like, oh man, like, I'm in a Muslim country. This is so wildly different, but how incredible to experience that. I'm so grateful. It just blew my mind open. I think it just teaches you how to be very self-sufficient, you know? And so when I moved to Dubai, we were lucky we had a bit of a friend group there, just incidentally through this person knows that person. And so we kind of got settled in that way, but we knew it wasn't really the place for us. So I wasn't too concerned about community. When we moved to the UK, I was lucky in that I got my job with MAC almost instantly. So then I had a built-in community of makeup artists, and that just grew and grew. So that was great. And, you know, I think, you know, entrepreneurship is and doing your own thing, you know, which I'm doing now, but that's so hard to not have the support of other people. And I really latched onto the support of other people because I had to. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you become a freelance makeup artist in the UK if you don't know anyone? Like, impossible. Mm-hmm. So I took a lot of comfort and safety in that. And actually, you know, if I do think about it, I think the safety part was so important for me. Having come from Johannesburg, I sought the safety. I wanted the community.
Yeah.
And then when my husband came home one day and he was like, oh, this company Shopify really wants to hire me in Ottawa, I was just like, no, we're not doing that. Like, are you crazy? I have my dream job. Like, do you know how hard it is to get this job? Like, do you actually understand? I was holding on to it like white knuckle, like, do not take this from me. Fast forward to us moving to Ottawa. I got out of the way and eventually realized, like, no, this is actually an incredible opportunity. What did I do? The first thing I did, I worked at Shopify. I got a job at Shopify. I like jumped straight into that community, which was incredible. I mean, now I was working at a tech company. Like, I still can't believe I did that. But that, you know, starting in Ottawa, we had a building full of like-minded people, all about entrepreneurship, funny enough, that I just got sucked into. So the first time actually that I've had to like find a community from scratch was moving here in 2022.
Okay. So sorry, you and your husband were both working at Shopify?
Yeah.
So what did you do at Shopify? Like,
isn't it wild?
Yeah.
So essentially when we moved, I quit. I mean, I just couldn't believe I was doing it. I was like, I'm quitting my job with Mac as a trainer. I sent my resignation in. We moved to Ottawa, got there. And you know what? They paid for our entire move. They paid for our accommodation. Like, I have to say, it was very, like, there were a lot of reasons to say yes. You know, we were kind of wooed. So we got there. And I mean, step one, like, I saw the offices. And I think this is when the penny really dropped. I was just like, oh, this is like a big deal. I'm talking tech in the golden age.
Yeah.
Free breakfast, free lunch, incredible offices, perks, beer, coffee. Like, you're just like, so honestly, a big part of me was like, I want to work here. I want to work here. It used to happen all the time because I actually ended up doing onboarding training. That was my first role. I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but it happened all the time. Like, someone would join and then their spouse would join because they were like, they had skills obviously in something, but they just really wanted to be a part of it. But after we moved, I'd spoke to the recruiter who was super friendly and super kind and was working with Ad. And she actually said to me, she's like, do you know, we have a training team and we're looking for a trainer. And I was like, well, what do you know? The thing that I learned at Mac, you know, the training part of my job, the skill that I developed was facilitation. So how to command a room of people, share information with them, engage in dialogue, you know, all those skills were what I learned. And so they were like, you know what, we hire for mindset. And this was a huge, like, complete game changer for me, even just this concept of a growth mindset. They were gung-ho on hiring people for mindset over necessarily having all the right skills, because skills can be taught. Like, mindset is something that is crucial. And they were just like, yeah, you know, I interviewed. I had to I think I had to make a video of myself teaching a skill. I can't remember exactly what that was, but I got the job. I couldn't believe it. So I was onboarding people into a tech company, telling them about tech, which I'm like, I don't know anything about, but you just had to figure it out. And that was amazing, you know, being scrappy. And then I also, in addition to that, I was doing coaching and training for leaders. So a lot of what I did at Mac was supporting managers on the counter, how to provide feedback to their team, how to grow their business. I was teaching leads at Shopify how to manage people too, because a lot of them had no idea. They had started, it was a scrappy startup. All of a sudden you're managing people, which is a skill set not a lot of them had. And so that was the part of my job I loved the most, actually, was working with those leads and in training them how to lead people.
Yeah. Very cool. So as you said, you were in Ottawa and then you went to Victoria. So what brought the Victoria move?
Yeah. So I have to say as well, when we were in Ottawa, one of the things I did, along with jumping straight into Shopify, was I worked for an agent. So
and this is for makeup.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So I was like, I can never not do makeup. Like, I'll do this tech job, like, sure. But I have my weekends free. Like, I can do makeup and I will do makeup and I will never not. So I met Sharon Ranger, who owns One Fine Beauty. Sorry, not Sharon. Shannon.
Shannon.
I hope she doesn't hear this. She'll kill me. But
this is the magic of editing. We'll get Shannon in there.
Try that again. So I met a woman called Shannon Ranger, who owns One Fine Beauty, and that is a bridal makeup agency. So she finds work, people come to her, and then she has artists that she puts on various jobs. The beauty of that was I didn't have to worry about inquiries or, any of the emails. I could just show up and do makeup and then bounce. So it worked for me perfectly. I kind of kept my toe in the door. I kept the bridal thing going, which was amazing. And that allowed that to keep going. What was the question again? The initial question?
Just like what brought you to Victoria then?
Oh, so anyway, so I was doing that. And we were both working at Shopify, and then I fell pregnant. And so I had my daughter in February 2020. And of course the COVID happened in March. Yes. It was like the worst time of my life, which I feel bad about saying, because I had this new daughter, like that's supposed to be the most joyful time, but it honestly was like, oh man, it pushed us. So you're stuck inside. No one could come see us. No one could come help us. We're in Ottawa. It's like snow up to your eyeballs outside, -40. I was just like, I don't think I can do this. On top of that, Shopify was really swift in moving to remote work. So I was on my mat leave. I was like, oh, I'll go back. See you guys in a year. COVID happened. The entire business changed. We had a sort of remote and in-person hybrid situation anyway. So it was really easy for Shopify to just be like, the office is gone, essentially is what happened. So we lost our entire community, what felt like overnight, because a lot of people had, like us, they'd moved to Ottawa. So everyone left. Yeah. They're like, I don't need to be here anymore. I can do my job for anyway. Like, see ya. And so this sort of drain happened. And to be honest with you, I think we always knew like our time in Ottawa was limited just because of the weather. Like, two South Africans in that climate, like, I don't know. I just struggled. It's hard. I couldn't see myself growing old and like shoveling snow, I was like, that is not the life for me. So I think we had a conversation. I was pregnant with my son, and I remember having a conversation with my husband on the sofa, and I was like, this is not it. Like, this is not it anymore. And he was like, yeah, we've got an opportunity now, because COVID had created such chaos in the property market. I mean, good chaos. This opportunity presented itself where it's like, okay, we could move. And we thought about the US for like a hot sec, because my husband could do his tech job there. Obviously, he could go to San Francisco easily enough, or, California. But we quickly dropped that notion. And we were like, no, Canada is it for sure. Honestly, like, where's the best weather in Canada? And do we know anyone there? And it turns out we did. So we have friends who used to work at Shopify, who one of them was raised here. And yeah, they were like, come check it out. And honestly, from the time we got from the airport to our hotel, we were like, this is it. There was something about it that felt a bit like Cape Town to us. And I was like, we're never going to find that anywhere else in Canada. And I think, man, I'm so glad we just did it, because I love Victoria so much. It's the best place. It is the best place I've lived, I think.
Yes. So you go to Victoria.
Yeah.
And then, when did you actually start your business?
Yeah. So it's such a journey.
Yes.
So I moved in 2022, had my son. So again, like, just moving to a whole new place and having a baby, no big deal. once he'd reached a point where he was going to go to daycare, so about a year old, I was like, okay, I can finally think about what I want to do. And legitimately, for a while, I was like, what the hell am I going to do? I'm so confused. I've worked in tech. Do I keep working in tech? I love makeup. But COVID actually made that quite a dangerous job for a minute there. You know, I was like, this is nuts. So I was pretty conflicted. And I think I was also concerned about the community piece. I was like, you know, being a makeup artist, freelancing, that's great. I know I can do it. I can do it like with my eyes closed, but is it going to be enough? Like, am I going to find community? Am I going to thrive? So I was juggling all that on top of adapting to life with another, you know, kid. And then I think I just had a moment where, you know, I talk things out. I'm such a yapper, right? Like, I was voice noting my friend in Australia who happens to be a therapist. So, you know, kind of like free therapy. And we just would talk it out. And eventually I just kind of ran out of excuses, I think. And I was like, you've got this. Like, not only do you have this, but all of the experience that you've had, like working in tech, understanding entrepreneurship, understanding tools, systems, things that you might not ever have been exposed to. You're bringing all of that knowledge into it. You're a good makeup artist, you know, like, and I still had a moment where I reached out to an agent here and I met with them. And I think the thing that really like cemented my decision to do my own thing was when I met with them, they were like frothing at the mouth for me to join. They were just like, oh my God, like, please join us. You could do this, you could do that. They were so excited that I was just like, oh, well, then I think I'm good. I think I'm going to do my own thing, you know? So that actually officially, my business started in September of 2023.
Okay.
So actually not that long ago. It's been
2 years.
2 years.
So when you started, how did you initially get business? Because it sounds like it took a little bit of time to like get comfortable with the notion. And it sounds like you sort of, you know, talked it out with your friend, you got to a place where you're like, I'm going to do this. But, you know, when you say to yourself, oh, I'm doing this, that doesn't mean people start knocking on your door. So how did you start to get your first business in those early days? Yeah,
well, I was like, okay, I knew that working with another makeup artist would be a good starting point. You know, a lot of weddings, you need a second artist. You need someone to help you because the bridal parties can be quite big. And I think I just Googled, I searched on Instagram. I was like, all right, who's on the island who is doing bridal makeup artistry? So I think I messaged a woman called Erin Bradley, was one of the first people I met. And I'm so grateful I did. And she was just the kindest, sweetest she is. She's such an angel. She was so giving and generous with her contacts. She immediately put me on jobs with her. She used to work for Mac as well. And if you meet someone else in the wild who works for Mac, like we immediately have a shared language. It's just like we're speaking the same language. You just vibe. So that was my starting point. And then I think honestly, because at this point, you know, I've been a makeup artist for 18 years, which I'm just like, wow. I think once I gave myself permission to do it, like this huge weight actually lifted off my shoulders, and I didn't mess around. So from that point on, I was just messaging people directly on Instagram, sliding into the DMs.
The people you're messaging, like, are these like makeup artists? Are they brides? Like, who are you messaging?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the people I remember just brazenly messaging is actually a woman called Dr. Bree, and she owns a medical aesthetics spa. Very, very popular, beautiful establishment. My goal is to work with more of a luxury clientele. Like, that's where I position myself. That's what I want to be doing. And so I kind of was just like, man, there's such symmetry there. Like, you're seeing people for facials and treatments who are, you know, probably in the same sphere. You know, if I get to know you, there's just a beautiful thing happening there, you know? And she is on the board, I think, for the Visions Gala, which is a big gala that happens every year that raises a ton of money for like millions of dollars for the hospitals. And I just said to her, I was like, hey, can I do your makeup for this? Like, I would love to just meet you, do your makeup, and and, go from there. And I thought she would just not even look at my message. A part of you is always like, oh, well, we'll see what happens. But she replied immediately, and I ended up doing her wedding makeup, and I collaborate with her all the time now. So that has led to a lot of business, actually, just from that one connection.
And did you have like a business Instagram account set up that allows, and then you messaged from that?
Yeah, I actually, when I was in Ottawa, so this whole Instagram thing, man, it's been such a journey. When I worked for Mac, I had an Instagram account as a trainer, and I actually really enjoyed creating content on it. But when I stepped away from the job, I lost it. So I was like, dang, okay, start from scratch. So when I joined One Fine Beauty in Ottawa, I created a separate business account from my personal.
Okay.
And then that's the account that now has grown to what I have now.
And that's what you use to message.
I just DM'd her, exactly.
Gotcha.
She is also a content creator and creates a lot of content online. So, that felt like a very natural place to meet her, to reach out to her.
Yes. And so was your strategy right from the start to message and offer free work just basically for the network, or did that just kind of come about? Because that is something we've talked with a few guests, and it does seem to be a commonality amongst people who have, built a business, is that when they started out, they were just doing shit for free. And they said, even people have said specifically that they think young people are too hesitant to do stuff like that. Yeah. So was that always your strategy, or was you just intuitively this is what I got to do?
I think it was intuitive. I didn't have a master plan.
Yes.
I got a sense on Instagram, okay, who are the vendors? So let's start with photographers. Photographers are huge. Most brides pick their photographers before they pick anyone else. It's like photographer and venue are like the two things. So I just messaged all the photographers I could find on Instagram, very casual, hey, I'm new to Victoria. Keep me in mind. I'm a makeup artist with all this, I've got all this experience. So there was that. That I don't actually think led to a hell of a lot of work. What did it, I think, was me sort of, finding people like Brie. But actually, if I think about it, I didn't do that. I haven't done a hell of a lot of that. That's like an example that I have, and I would absolutely do it again.
Yeah.
But I haven't needed to. I think I got quite lucky. One of the things I did early on, and Erin actually pulled me into it. It was it was the first makeup thing I ever did in Victoria, was a styled shoot. So these are these are photo shoots where a bunch of wedding vendors collaborate there, and they give their time for free, and you get beautiful images as a result of doing the shoot. So this one was with a photographer from Edmonton called Carissa Marie. I didn't know she was phenomenal. Really, I kind of went into it still dropping my kid at daycare, whoa, in the chaos of my life. But she was the photographer. Erin did the hair. I did the makeup. And then we had you have a dress vendor, so maybe they're loaning a dress. You have a jewelry vendor, so they're loaning some jewelry. And then there's a floral vendor as well, so they're contributing flowers. And we did a shoot. It was mostly downtown. There was a coffee shop called Bear and Joey, which had all these incredible pastel colors. It's not there anymore, but we shot there, and we shot in the street, essentially. And it produced the most incredible images. And I think that shoot alone has got me so much work. It was such a good use of my time. I got to know the photographer. I got to know, Erin better. I got to be a part of that vendor community. And then from there, it's just spread. So I try to do as many style shoots like that as I can. Now I'm a little bit more selective. I have a sort of aesthetic in mind. I have my own opinion. My time is very limited with my kids, so I'm not just willy-nilly doing stuff for free now. But they can be a huge window for brides to find you. And that shoot has ended up on the cover of Rocky Mountain magazine. It was the spring cover for this year. So wow. I wouldn't have known it, but that was a huge start to my business here.
And again,
go ahead, Stephen.
So basically that was another example of just doing free work that resulted in, yes. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Not necessarily reaching out to the photographer to say, hey, I want to do a shoot, but in essence, yes, free work. Yeah.
I also think it's interesting too, because I kind of from a through line of like your career is how important community is. And then, like you said, even, you know, that feeling of not feeling quite ready when you're deciding, should I do it by myself? Should I go agency, is like that fear of not having that community. But then one of the key things that has made you successful is finding that community and finding those like-minded people. And then, so it's like the world is like, it's like, but that was something that obviously was a value to you.
Yes.
And kind of, and then you found that, so that was a priority. And then that, lo and behold, ends up being a very lucrative way to like not only have that community, but then also build the business. And so yeah, it's very cool.
I think as well, I didn't actually realize, you know, we didn't give moving, this is going to sound odd maybe, but we didn't give moving a ton of thought. It was like, we want to get out of here. We're going to Victoria, and stuff moved so quickly. And I was so pregnant. Like I did not have time or energy to do anything beyond just getting through the move. And so when we finally were able to take a breath and I was like, okay, I want to do this. I made up my mind. I was very pleasantly surprised at how robust the bridal industry is here. I was like, oh, why wouldn't I? Like people come here to get married from all over the world, actually. So I was like, well, that works out really well. And the vendor community here, which, I mean, I worked in Ottawa, like I said, but I was more in and out. Essentially, I wasn't emailing and communicating and necessarily building much of a network around vendors. But here, I have to say, the vendor community is exceptionally kind. Like, so happy to help. Everyone I've met is just encouraging. There's a feeling of my success is your success. Whereas I think in a bigger city, you know, somewhere like Vancouver, even Toronto, it's probably a little less friendly. It's probably a little more cutthroat, you know? And I can say this with a fair amount of confidence because I see sort of Instagram posts intoning, you know, that sort of vibe. And I'm like, we don't really have that here. Like everyone's kind of jamming, you know, and happy. I don't know if it's just the weather or what, but it's pretty great. So that was a really pleasant surprise. And I mean, I can't wait to meet more people and connect, you know, but social media, obviously my Instagram account does a lot of that lifting for me, you know, which is so fantastic. It is so powerful. And I think I could use it more, you know, if I really focus all my energy and attention on it, man, I think it can open so many doors, but it is a lot of work. Like I really underestimated the amount of work it takes to run an effective Instagram account.
Yeah, no, I think I've heard like lots of businesses, they'll be like, oh yeah, just get somebody to do some social media kind of thing, or let's add a TikTok channel. It's like you basically need a person doing that's their full-time job is running the TikTok channel, or full-time job is running the Instagram channel. And then it's like add that on top of everything that comes with being a entrepreneur. It's a lot.
Exactly. Just the admin. I know. And I haven't even got TikTok. I'm like, I can't even look at that. I'm not interested. Like, this is enough. You know?
Yes. So when you got to Victoria, you started doing weddings immediately. Yes. It sounds like you got into the industry pretty quickly. But at the start, you had mentioned that you have, you know, a couple of services that you offer. So when was that process for, like, I guess, expanding, you know, to other areas beyond weddings?
And again, I think once I made the decision, man, things fell in place so fast because I think I was more than ready to do this, actually, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't really, I didn't waste any time. I can't remember exactly when I was like, okay, I'm going to have a lesson offering. I'm very lucky. Obviously, my husband's in tech, so he built my website for me. So I think when we were building it, I was just like, yeah, I want you to put lessons on there, because I did makeup lessons with Mac on the Mac counter for ages. You know, I trained makeup artists. You know, that is such a part of what I do that I don't even have to think. You know, instructing people in makeup is second nature. So I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna put that on there, and it is a much smaller part of my business. The bridal is definitely the biggest piece of the pie.
Sure.
But it's so nice for me to have that, you know, so many people want it. So many people want it. And I love doing it. So I don't think I was like, okay, now feels right, like the right time to do X, Y, or Z. I kind of was just like, I'm just going to offer everything that I do and see what happens, you know?
Yes. So, and once you got going, and obviously you started the new product lines, but so you've been in business for 2 years. We understand how you got that traction early on. You messaged, you did free work. Has there been anything that you've employed to, grow from year 1 to year 2, or has it kind of just been like word of mouth, repeat customers? Well, I guess in the bridal industry, hopefully it's not too many repeat customers.
Right. But brides are actually a fantastic starting point for several reasons. Like if you work with a bride, generally brides, if you think about it, they're pretty young. Yeah. And then like, oh, they're having a baby. They have a maternity shoot. Oh, I'm going to get Maz to come do my makeup. Oh, now I'm starting my own brand. I'm going to do a branding shoot. Hey, Maz, come on, girl, let's do some makeup. Like it really is a good starting point. And then, lessons are kind of perennial, I would say, like, but especially for people who might become mothers, your skin changes, your life changes, your priorities change. It's a huge shift. So sometimes I get a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like everything needs to change and I don't know where to start. So it is a very good pipeline because there's so many opportunities for me to support, maybe down the line and to work with them again. But yeah, I've never had a repeat bride as in like got divorced and had another wedding. No, although I'd love that. That would be so fascinating. I'd be like, what happened?
So essentially it's kind of just like nailing that, which I'm sure, it is, your training comes into it, but like when you meet them, you do a good job that first time, and then it just 100%. Kind of business comes from that.
Yeah. And so I use so again, I didn't muck around. When I made the decision to run my business, I was like, listen, I've got a tech background.
Yes.
Let's do this. I'm getting a CRM. I'm building an incredible website. I'm going to take payments online. I'm going to have a contract. I was just like, let's go. Like I did it all at once. So my startup costs for my first year were astronomical. I have to say, it didn't like drip feed. I was just like, let's do it. And it's paid off, essentially my business, I feel like it runs itself with the CRM. That's been fantastic. And so I get metrics now. And when people inquire, I ask them, where did you find me? And most of it is Instagram, but not too far behind is word of mouth for sure. So those are my 2 things to focus on. Like when I was thinking about, how am I going to tell people about my business? I thought about Facebook for a hot second. And I was just like, you know what? I just don't think my customers there. They're not there. So I was pretty ruthless because, again, like my attention is only this big in a day before the kids come in or something else, disrupts me. So I just got very clear, realized that, okay, Instagram is actually going to be where things pay off for me. I personally want to attract that luxury client. So let's make sure we got good systems and processes to reflect that, some branding too. And then, I just got to do my thing and it'll work. And it has.
No, I think that's again, I can speak from the experience of being one of your clients. And I think that was the one thing I noticed was like everything was so smooth, getting the invoices, getting the reminders of the invoice. Like it was like versus like some of the clients or vendors you'd work with, it's like, oh shoot, I have to write down and remember when the rest of my payment is due and when all that is due. And it's like versus everything was that. So no, I could definitely notice. And then you also mentioned from the branding perspective. So I know you worked with Paul Toit. I could say his last name.
Love him.
At some point. So was that also like one of your year 1 investments of like, if you're going to start it, do you want to invest in really clean branding that again also exudes that like luxury side, or was that something that came like year 2?
I mean, I should probably look up when exactly, what, if I go on my Instagram, I could probably see there's that one post with the logo that I'm like, that's when it happened. So I don't know if we can pull that up to see the exact date. I think, I decided to do it. So essentially I was like, okay, I'm going to take myself seriously. And then decided Instagram was the place to do it. And so my algorithm completely started serving me accounts and posts for people who are doing the same thing. So I think I definitely was inspired by a lot of what other makeup artists are doing in the space. And I was like, oh yeah, I could have branding that and elevate my business in that way. I definitely gleaned a lot of what I wanted it to look like from just being inspired by others, for sure. I also realized that, you know, a lot of people just aren't even doing it at all. And the difference is crazy, right? If you've got a website and you haven't updated it since 2015, like, oh Lord, like, I think the expectations now are higher than ever for clients. You know, with makeup, it's not something that people don't do themselves. Like, this is something that actually a lot of women can do and do very well. So how am I positioning myself to a point where they're like, I have to work with her because she's going to do a much better job than I can? You know, we're all getting educated through YouTube, through social media on how to do this stuff. Like, you know, so I think I was just like, it's something that I can do. It's a dial that I can turn to make me stand out, to also give me opportunities to grow. So Paul's incredible. He did an amazing job. I was so lucky to work with him. And it was through like Shopify connections, right? Like, again, I'm just like, yeah, he's the guy. I kind of just knew what to look for. And we created something together that I think will stand the test of time, but also I can grow into. Like, I haven't fully leveraged all that branding. I feel bad. Paul, I'm sorry. Like, he's done some beautiful work and I've only scratched the surface. But I love that, you know, down the line, as my capacity grows, my kids grow up, etc., like, I could use that branding for many different things. So yeah, I was just like, let's just do it, get her done. And then, you know, I can make decisions and move quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome.
As you kind of go over the story of starting, like, the thing that comes to mind is, like, you know, you moved to a place you didn't really know that many people. You said you were pregnant, you had a young child as well, and then you want to start a new business. So, like, I don't know, that mindset, obviously someone who's an entrepreneur, I think they're probably wired a little bit differently, or they have to learn to be wired differently. But was that something that, like, I don't know, do you like freak out about all the stress and the risk and all that? Or were you just like, whatever, I'll figure it out? Like, and I don't know which way it was, but where do you think that came from?
Definitely for me, what you said about mindset was something that I had to learn. And I think I was, you know, I feel very lucky that I got to work at Shopify, which is completely focused on entrepreneurs, for me to understand what the struggle is, but also just how many opportunities there are to have a business. It can exist in so many different ways, right?
Yeah.
So I think more than anything, I was just like, I just found it more and more exciting the more I thought about doing this on my own. And I'll be honest with you as well, like, given the constraints of family, I'm like, we don't have family here. I have no help.
Yeah.
Right? So what am I going to do? Am I going to get a full-time job and be completely chained to a desk, but my kids need me? Like, it just doesn't work. I needed something that was flexible. I wanted to do something that, you know, also made me feel creative and accomplished. And so, yeah, doing my own thing actually, in a way, was also kind of like the only option, you know. The fear, I mean, and I'll just be real with you here, like, my husband has a fantastic paying job. Like, that is a fact. So I'm not completely freaking out because I don't have to worry about making X amount. You know, he's so supportive of me as well, that, you know, I am making money. It's fantastic. I've doubled my business since last year. This is incredible. But I think about people who are really putting everything on the line, and I'm like, damn, like, that's hard. Like, I feel so lucky that I have a supportive partner, and I'm in a situation now, which has been a long journey to get to this, you know. There's been so much struggle and so much adaptation and so much upheaval, and, you know, losing myself and finding myself again and all that. But yeah, I don't freak out about that too much because I don't have to, and I'm damn lucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
The last question we always like to ask people is, you know, what would you say to someone who is thinking about starting a business or doing anything that was, you know, a risk, whether that's moving, but, you know, primarily starting a business? What would you say to them?
I would say I would give them permission to put the fear down. Like, I think fear can be a real comforting thing in a way.
You said you like sci-fi, like fear is the mind killer, right? Like,
fear is the mind killer. I will not. I don't know. I love Dune. Oh,
yeah. Yes.
What a I can't wait for the next one. Oh my God. Fear is the mind killer. Like, I think a lot of it, we tell ourselves a lot of stories. I was telling myself a lot of stories like, oh, how can you be a makeup artist? How can you work weekends when your kids need you on weekends? Like, how can you go out on your own without, having a solid network of people already established? Like, you can tell yourself stories all day and make excuses. And it's, it's a comfort blanket in a way. It takes a lot of guts, I think, to say, here I am, I want to do this thing, and put yourself out there. Like, even just being on Instagram and being like, hey, in front of a camera, talking about I hate that. I hated it so much at first. I was like, this is so cringe. Like, it's so hard.
Yeah.
But most people will love and support you. I think we're our own worst critics. And so once you put that down and kind of allow yourself to sort of just put it to the side and say, I see you, but I'm going to just ignore you for a hot sec, incredible things can happen for sure.
Yes. Great. Well, as a last thing, we like to give people a chance to promote where they can find you. So what's the easiest place to find you?
Probably on Instagram. Let's be real. Yeah. We're talking so much about it. So my Instagram handle is at Marianne Moore _makeup. I don't know if do you think I need to spell my name? Do I need to spell that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll link it,
find me there. You can slide into my DMs there. I also have everything linked on my page, my website and whatnot. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on and hearing about your story. It was really great. So we really appreciate the time.
Oh, you're so welcome. This was so fun. Thanks, Stephen.
Yes.